so many doubts about this Vikings team after what we just watched on Sunday night. They weren't just beaten by the Lions, Whit. They looked like they didn't even belong on the field with the Lions. What about Minnesota was exposed in Detroit on Sunday night? And are the Rams, look, we had the game where the Rams beat Minnesota, but are they built to capitalize on whatever the hell we saw Minnesota do on Sunday night?
Yeah, I mean, you think about this matchup. We've obviously seen this game already with the Vikings-Rams earlier this year on our own TNF, and the Rams handled business. But you look at it, we just said we love to look at these lines as analysts. The Vikings are road favorites, so obviously people think they can go in there and win. My question is really when you look at this Vikings team, Fitz, and you talk about Sam Darnold and them last week, we said they got dominated, but I kind of thought watching that game, the Vikings were getting lots of opportunities. They're getting down the red zone, and they just couldn't take advantage of them. What do you think was going on with Sam the other night? Because it hasn't been something we've really thought about, and all of a sudden he looked almost to me a little afraid to pull the trigger at times because there were some plays where it looks like he's got the opportunities if he just trusts himself.
Yeah, it was a big stage. It was for the bye. It was for the number 1 seed, and it just didn't happen. I'm not overly concerned with some of the red zone stuff because when you sit and you watch it, there's some guys that he missed. There's some scheme stuff they can do better, yes. But the concerning thing for me, Sam was so good against the blitz all year long, but then you look at it and he wasn't really blitzed all that much. And I think maybe some of it was the early success. Some of it is how dangerous those receivers are. But what did Detroit do? I mean, the blueprint they put out there is blitz him and then blitz him again and keep coming after him and keep getting after Sam and getting in his head. We go back and he's moved so far away from the I'm seeing ghost thing back when he was with the Jets. But you saw a little bit about that during the game on Sunday. You're talking about being gun shy and all those things. Like some of those demons were coming back to Sam where he wasn't finding the open guy and he was a little skittish in the pocket and he was bothered by the pressure. And so, is that something that the Rams are going to look at? And better than I do with their defense, are the Rams going to be able to dial those things up and get after Sam? Is that going to be something that they're going to want to do after looking at that game on Sunday night?
Yeah, I think that's the thing. You really look at this Rams season and when it turned around after the bye, Chris Shula, first-time defensive coordinator, a really young defense and a young group of pass rushers that have done nothing but get better and better as the season's gone on. And it really has turned into an amazing draft class by Les Snead and the Los Angeles Rams. When they came out of that bye week and we had their game, that was one of the things they did. They had changed in the deep. They said, hey, you know what? We're not going to sit back and just try to rush with a few guys and play coverage because we're not good enough defensively to do that right now. We're going to bring more pressure. And you saw the success they really had in that game against the Vikings, being able to slow them down because at that point, the Vikings were rolling. So I look at it as, is that going to be something we're going to see again this week? And then also to me, I always think it's dangerous. And Fitz, I think you have to put the playoffs into different categories. In the first round, wild card weekend, when you're playing against a team, just like I said with Bo Nix against the Bills, young players who are excited to be there, you can get one or the other. And I think if you're the Vikings and you're about to face this young pass rush group of the Rams who are excited to have the opportunity, they just rested Matthew Stafford. They rested their vets on the offensive side of the ball so that they can load up and give you the best shot they got this week. You got to be a little nervous about the way the Rams can possess the football with time of possession, just continuing to drive the football, keep it in their possession, and then can they conquer in the red zone? Because that's really what the Rams' Achilles heel has been, is if they can score touchdowns in the red zone, they're a tough team to beat and then get after you with this young defense.
Yeah, but this is what I want to ask you about, resting the guys, and then losing that game and, obviously falling behind Tampa and having to play, the Vikings, whoever's going to lose that NFC North matchup. So they're playing the Vikings. If they beat them, they are playing the Lions. So it's like, that seems to me like it was a tougher path. I still am not convinced that was the best decision. And then if they come out and lay an egg in this game, he just, McVay opened himself up for criticism. So I'll ask you, having been in this situation before, do you think McVay knows this guy's better than anybody, but resting your guys when your offense really wasn't playing that well the last few games before going out and playing now the NFC North loser, the Minnesota Vikings, was it the right move for them?
I think for me, you have to be committed to who you are. I think for some coaches, yes, maybe that's their strategy, that you leave the guys out there and you keep playing how you're playing. I think when you look at the Detroit Lions, when you look at some of these teams that were rolling and playing as well as they were, Dan Campbell had that decision the week before against the San Francisco 49ers leading up to this game. He said, let's just keep playing how we're playing. I think in Sean McVay's world, you got Matthew Stafford, who played behind a beaten up offensive line all season long. They had guys in and out of the lineup, continued to have that the last few weeks. He has taken a toll. He's not getting any younger. You need him fresh and ready to go. You look at Puka, the injuries he's played through, Cooper Kupp, the injuries he's played through. They've missed time this season. I think this game, people can look at it and go, all right, well, you needed another week to get better. I disagree. I think that, in my opinion, this isn't one of those situations where you had a healthy offensive line, a healthy quarterback, a healthy skill group, and you're just giving them a break for a week. I think they're resting guys up saying, look, these dudes have been playing through all kinds of crap all season. Let's let them just feel better, heal up for a week, and let's go give it the best shot we possibly got. We know we're inexperienced on defense. We know that we got some limitations on offense as far as being able to create explosives, but we're going to have to be at our absolute best when it matters. And that's what the playoffs are all about, Fitz, because we can talk about these matchups all we want. We can talk about who's good, who's what. Guess what? This is the difference in the playoffs. It ain't a season. It doesn't matter what you do next week. Who's the best in that 3-hour window? That's all that matters. And that's what the Rams are shooting for. We can be the best in the 3-hour window against the Minnesota Vikings. And that's what they played for. And that's what they're getting ready for and getting ready to do this week.
Yeah. And I'll say, too, the X factor is going to be Brian Flores. Rightfully so. His defense has played great all year. He's gotten all the praise and kudos and all those things. There's a lot of bells and whistles and confusing the quarterback. And I go back to Brock Purdy, saying to Brian Flores after one of the games, man, your defense is crazy. You know who doesn't think it's crazy? Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford is going to have the ability to know what they're in, to get them in better plays when they're getting pressures, when they're doing all their stuff where they're confusing the quarterback, but really just ending up in a version of Tampa 2. Matthew Stafford is going to pick it apart. So that's going to be the X factor in this game. Can the line, when they rush 4, can they protect Matthew Stafford for long enough for him to pick apart these guys? But I don't see him having an issue against this Vikings defense, because that factor of confusion for the quarterback will not exist with a veteran like Matthew Stafford.
I agree. That's why I think this is the matchup the Vikings probably didn't want to start the playoffs. Kevin O'Connell going back to Sean McVay in L.A., a guy that he came from. And I think that, you know what? He knows Sean knows him best. He also knows Brian Flores very well. So this is a tough matchup for them.